Hello and welcome. You are looking at the front of a Commodore Model 4040 dual floppy disk drive. And what we're going to do today is something that I have done a vast number of times. We're going to make a copy. First, what we're going to do is I'm over here going to type in backup D0 to D1. And I'm going to hit enter. Now, if you notice, the doors are open. That is because there's this thing. The older 1541s don't do it. The new 1541s do it. I think the 8050s and some of the 8250s do it. And that is that for a disk to properly be seated, sometimes it really needs to be spinning while the door closes. We call it tickling the drive. So what I'm going to do, the original disk is in drive 0. And what I'm copying into is in drive 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the command in, and I'm going to do this. Oh. Okay, so what it should now be doing, if it is working, is going out and checking drive 1 for errors. That is what it should be doing. Or formatting it, making sure that it's okay. And if we listen carefully, we will hear at some point more noises, because right now drive 1 is spinning. Drive 0 is not spinning. But if you listen carefully, the head is going from track to track. So a backup copy is indeed, it doesn't care what is where, it just copies everything as it is to the next disk, like the track and sectors. It doesn't go looking for, hey, what do we got here? Where are we going to put that? Is this, is this efficiently stored or anything? It just goes and copies each track, each sector, each track, each sector, and all the links that tell it where things are. So it is pretty quick. It is. Somewhat. Anyway, so right now, even though both drive lights were on originally, both drives were not spinning. Now, both drives are indeed spinning, and the disk is copying. Sorry, not copying. Backing up is what it is doing. So in this case, a backup takes just as long, regardless of the disk being very full or very empty, because it copies everything. Let's listen and see if we can hear the heads moving. Well, if I listen very carefully, I can slightly hear the sound of the heads moving, just a little wee bit. So, and I'm pretty confident that this will work because I did indeed tickle the disk drive. Trying to think. In the old days, I think I used to do when I had, oh, okay, it is done. I'm going to check. I'm going to do a catalog and look and see. And sure enough, we now have 2 disks that are the same. So, and it's very full. So that did not take all that long as things go. What I'm going to do now is do a copy. And I'm just looking, when you copy, you have to format. Oh, and look, you know what? I opened the door, but just out of, I know you can't see this, but out of habit, the command I have to enter, or that I am entering, is open 15, 8, 15, quote, N1, tpug contest 83, 83, close 15. Out of habit, I did put in N0. If I put in N0, drive 0 will be formatted. Drive 0 is the original disk. That is not what I want to do. So, I'm going to reach over here, issue the command, tickle the drive, and it will go through each track in each sector and format the disk. And why did I call it tpug contest 83? Well, because that's what the disk is. It is a disk that was well, tpug had a contest in 1983, and this is the programs. I'm not sure if it's the winners or the ones that were entered or how it all went, but there they are. So, it is formatting. And formatting doesn't take a whole long time. It is done. I will check the directory. Okay, it has happened. Now, I'm going to say, much like before, I'm not going to say backup. I'm going to say, type in copy D0 to D1. And 2 is the word 2, T-O. So, as soon as I do that, I will close the door. Now this is different in that it goes through and copies each individual file. So the output disk could end up on the block allocation map looking very different than the disk that you are copying from, because it goes in, it looks at all the files one at a time, and it copies them, and it doesn't necessarily, and probably doesn't at all, put them back on the disk the same way that they were. It probably actually, I guess in the words of some of the more modern things with hard drives and stuff, this might be a good way to defragment a disk if it was one that had a lot of reading and writing and writing and reading and such here and there and everywhere. I would suspect there hasn't been a whole bunch on this disk, and things are probably packed fairly efficiently, but still, it's a good thing to be able to do both, because say you have a disk that will not back up, and no matter what you do, it won't back up. There could be an error on a part of the disk that is not used at all. So, if you do a copy, which copies each file one at a time, one at a time, one at a time, it would do a successful copy of the disk and not bother with the area that was not working right. Now, if indeed the area of the bad spots on the disk are in a file or files, typically speaking, it'll go along and it'll copy. Eventually you'll hear that clunky clunk noise of the head swinging, and the red light will come on and it will stop. And whatever file didn't copy right will appear on the directory with an asterisk beside it, and it will undoubtedly be the last file that you tried to copy. So you would then have an idea, which at least that file is bad, and then perhaps using a program like copy all, you could try and, rescue as much of the disk as possible. You could. Now, it is unlikely that this would have, from what I found with disks that are dirty with microscopic scunge, it can be possible, and it is possible, and I have done it, where you cut a disk out of the sleeve and then quite literally soak it, not forever, but just sort of rinse it in warm soapy water, and maybe keep it in there for 10 or 20 seconds, not beastly boiling scalding water, just warm, and then rinse it in some nice clean water, and then let it dry, and then put it back in the sleeve, because, you know, sometimes after 30, 40 years, things happen inside of a disk. They do. So, anyway, we will do more of these things. Right now, I am just doing this copy. One of the reasons I'm doing it is because I think it's a better indication that if there is something wrong with a disk, a certain file, it will tell me. Also, I just like watching the LEDs go back and forth. I do. It's more mesmerizing when the LEDs are flashing. When they're on, it's fine. When they're off, you know, but when they're flashing like this and it's copying, it's just more magical. So, both ways of what we've done today, backup and copy, seem to be working just fine. They do. So I'm pleased about that. So it's good to know that this disc, which is the TPUG 1983 contest disc, the master seems to be okay, and it's very full. So there's not a whole lot of wiggle room if there was some bad tracks and sectors on the original disc. I think maybe there were 6 blocks free, maybe. I could be mistaken. Anyway, so, as you can see though, copying file by file by file does take longer. But the nice thing about it is that, like right now, I could, if I was writing a program, as long as I wasn't accessing the disk drive, I could keep writing. Because the copy command is internally done within the disk drives, as is the backup command. So right now I have a flashing cursor in front of me. I can type in pin, print, quote, copying a... Oh, look, it's done. Well, I can type in this stuff. Copying a disk. Print, copying a disk. And then I can type run, copying a disk. Anyway, I will now do a catalog. And indeed, it is done. 6 blocks free, every file copied, just dandy. So, I have backed up and copied this disk, and it's all good. So I am confident that when I put it in the mail, that it will arrive as good as it ever was. So, thank you for being here and watching the LEDs flash back and forth. Perhaps next time we'll look at the screen and you can see more of what I am typing in. But it isn't, you know, the cursor flashing is exciting, but I find the LEDs much more exciting. There, look, I'll do a catalog. And the LEDs will flash. So there, we have backed up and we have copied, and now we will do something else at another time. Thank you for being here. Bye for now.